Hello, Earthlings. Franny Elcrease here. Just wanted to finish up my playlist. I took a break from yesterday because it was getting late and I hadn't ate yet. Or not late, but like I needed to eat. um, and just I needed to also cook for the dogs and stuff. So I had other stuff to do. But anyways, and I just also kind of needed a break from it. Talking about my past is that, like I said, like that is the first time I ever like a lot of that stuff I said was the first time I ever really told anyone. So I mean, some of my close friends might know, but not in full detail, I guess you would say. But in this video, and probably the next couple more videos, I think I'm gonna do two more videos. Maybe not. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I just want to talk more about my college. So like, I worked for a little bit. I had to pay off my college because I hadn't paid on it from going right after high school. I still owed them money, and I basically just waited until income tax time was, and they took my state tax. And then one year they took my state tax, and then didn't have much left over to pay off, so I went ahead and used the federal tax that I got and paid the rest of it off. And then that following August, I was able to go back to school at the college down a little down south from where I live now. Um, but it was my first time really getting to be who I am. I found like a little queer group of people, uh, and some allies, and was trying to start like a little LGBT group thing at the college because they had one, but it seemed like no one really kept it going. And so I kind of started it, but then ended up not being able to be like the leader of it because of my college hours or whatever. So, but we found some people, so I got to find friends that way, which was really cool. I always like to say I'm shy and I don't really like get out there, but there are times where I actually do some stuff because like doing that was kind of shocking to me because in high school I did not talk to anybody, but in college I wanted to be a little different. And I was still going, or I wasn't going for automotive. I was going for business, which in my mind I was thinking, oh, if I learn the business, I could run a business. Anyways, so it ended up changing again because I had an advisor. I'm still not sure exactly what happened to her, but all of a sudden she wasn't my advisor, or I thought she was just missing that day. But when I went in, I was like, well, I really want to talk to an advisor. I don't have to wait until, because I had an appointment, I believe, and where I can just walk in, one of the two. And so another girl talked to me, another advisor did, and I was working in a plant nursery at the time, and I had kind of like sunburn, and you could tell I was outside. My hair was like super blonde because it was just from the sun. And she was like, "Why do you want to do a business degree?" And I told her, I was like, "Well, I want to kind of own a floral shop because that's where my horticultural started coming in. Because oddly enough, and weirdly enough, I guess, I had a dream about owning a floral shop that was named after my grandmother. Because I think I said in my other video, she was the one who let me help build flower beds, and I got to help plant flowers. And so it kind of, I was trying to get back to that because my mom, she made me feel like that kind of stuff, and even photography. I forgot I was into photography because grandma had bought me a disposable camera for the trip, but even after that, I kind of kept trying to take photos and stuff. Nothing like great, serious, whatever, but just playing with the camera. And I still have those film in the film and in the pictures in my closet. But so I was trying to get back into that. I was like, this is what I really want to try to do. And I thought if I took a business degree, I'd be able to learn how to run a business. And she basically said, well, a business degree is for an office job, basically. And I was like, well, I don't want to be in an office. I want to be out. And that's why she was asking me because I was like blonde and kind of like, um, kind of tanned back then a little bit. I definitely started tanning later, and now I clearly is very white. But I also started protecting my skin a little bit better because I did not wear sunscreen. Uh, but she goes, well, not that I'm trying to kick you out of this college, but maybe you should get my like basics, like English and all that, out of the way, and then transfer up to the college that I ended up going to. because they have a horticultural degree, which I did not know because I didn't know how to look that stuff up or whatever. Um, I was just going to go to the college that I went to during high school. I wasn't even going to try to go to a different type of college. But when she said that, I was like, she brought it up and showed me like the website for it and all the classes that they have and stuff. And she's like, you can take all the classes down here that don't really go with that and then transfer up there. Well, I ended up becoming friends with one of the people in the LGBT group who was going up there for agriculture. And she talked me into transferring sooner rather than later, which ended up causing me to. I was working at the casino at the time, and basically that was the only reason why I could afford to drive back and forth to where my dad was living because I ended up moving with my dad, which I was going to talk about this. So, 24, ended up moving in with my dad because he needed a rep payee, which his little sister used to do, but she would make him feel like a burden and would talk really negative to him and shit. And then all of a sudden they were trying to push it on me. And I'm over 24. I didn't even know how to finance my own shit. I was barely making it, barely eating and stuff. But getting that casino job did help because it was more pay because we got a tip pool, which was the only reason why it was good pay because in reality I think I was making $7.50 an hour. But it was better than just making $7.50 an hour. It was tips also, which made it like 18, 19 sometimes an hour, which helped a lot. And so I was actually able to eat, and I was actually able to buy me clothes and stuff like that. So it was really nice. But that first year of college, I was still living down there and driving back and forth. But then after that year, I was like, dude, I'm done. And so I talked to my dad and was like, would you care about moving up to where we live now? And he was like, no, I don't mind. And this is how his family is, by the way, how negative his family is. Because he told me later about what they were saying. He didn't tell me at the time what they were saying, but they're basically telling him that I want to get him to move up here and then just up and leave him. I want to find someone and end up being roommates with them and leaving him behind. And I was like, I would not do that. Like, we have a good setup. Like, I'm still having to take care of your finances. I don't want to have to take care of your finances and not live with you because I figured because that was the only reason why I did it was, well, if I'm going to take care of your finances, we're going to live together so that way I know exactly what bills are needed and shit like that. Like, I'm not having to. Plus, I was tired of hopping from roommates to roommates because I was doing that a lot. I moved like 3, 4 times in just like one little year of trying to go to college as well. But anyway, so I ended up moving with him, and so he was, uh, living in the house that we were living in, and I was driving back and forth. But then after that, I was like, dude, I want to move up there. And he's a veteran, so he was like, well, that's cool because I'll be closer to the VA hospital, which I think after we moved from there, they ended up building a VA hospital down there, but too late. But anyway, so we moved up here because I didn't want to do the driving back and forth thing. It was rough on my car and stuff like that. And because it was a good 45-minute hour drive, and some of my classes were taking like at 7 in the morning, which was stupid. I don't know why I picked those. I ended up dropping it. But anyway, so I ended up transferring sooner, started doing that, which was fine, I guess. But there was some times where I had to like appeal my financial aid because taking care of my dad, and because at first he was not. It's really weird to have to say no to your dad when he asks for money, if that makes sense, because it is his money. But I'm also like, no, we've got bills to pay. We've got this X amount of money for groceries. This, that. Like I definitely learned finances, I guess, in a sense. Still not great with them, but um, you can't be great with finances if you make a poverty wage. Like, cause like even now he's retired from the school that he was working at as a janitor, but then he still has this full time job with this other doing other janitor at the VA, being a janitor at the VA, and he's still not really making enough. Of course, it doesn't help that I'm not working, but for the most part, I've always worked. So like, go back there. I'm getting ahead of myself, but being jobless is weird. It really is because I have worked all my adult life, and there was a lot of times where I was working 2 jobs, um, and going to college. So I'm always busy. So not being busy was really weird. But anyway, so I transferred up here in my first semester. Like the reason why she wanted me to transfer up here with her was so she didn't have to do it alone. But then we ended up never like really hanging out. Um, we had different classes basically, and it just didn't work out. But I think we ate lunch once, um, and I've seen her a couple of times because I was uh, working landscape for the college, and one of the buildings that she goes to a lot, I would be working in that yard in that flower beds and stuff. But um, but it was all right because when I came up here, the first semester I got to pick was a floral design class. Um, like I said, I had a dream about owning a floral design or a floral shop and naming it after my grandma. And so that's what I was kind of going for, even though I was working on landscaping. But the floral design uh, class was its first time. It was like I was a guinea pig that first time. They were trying to see if enough people would sign up for it to keep it, and they ended up keeping it, and I ended up taking it again later on. But it was the first time was in the fall, and then the second time was in the spring because the teacher, who I'm still like close to, kind of, she moved out of state, but she's still on my Facebook, so every so often she'll text me sometimes because she has some of my art. Um, I had this huge board that I painted on, which I'll probably talk about later. Um, and she took the final product of it because she was like, I want that no matter what it looks like at the end, I want it. So she has it in her office at the she had it in her office here at this college, so I got to see it, and but she has it in her new office now where she moved to. But so that floral design class, I was like, I really want to take that, and so that's what made me do Monday, Wednesday, Friday, which was horrible. The next semester I did Tuesday, Thursday, and that was it. I was like, I am not doing 3 days a week coming up there. Plus, I had Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday off, I'm pretty sure. And so that kind of helped with having 2 days of just, I didn't have to go to work coming back from school. Like I said, I don't know how the hell I did it. Because now I would be like, I'm too exhausted for that shit. But I was going back then. But I was also still on like survival mode, go, go, go mode. but, um, but that supervisor, or not supervisor, that advisor really helped me get on that path. So then now I'm up here doing horticultural stuff, and I'm just using my phone mostly, and I'm taking a lot of photos of the flowers. And a lot of the people in the horticulture department were like, "These are really good photos. You should take a photo class." And I was like, "A photo class? They have that here?" And I went to go take just a photo class, but they were like, "No, you've got to take a degree, basically." So then that's what threw me into art, which I never really was into art, even in high school, especially in high school. I didn't. I mean, I had an art class, but I sat in the back. I was like I said, I did not really talk to anyone. I didn't try to overachieve, more like achieve anything. Not even overachieve, just achieve stuff. Like I remember drawing a Scooby Doo, of course, because I'm a big Scooby fanatic. But and the art teacher saying this is really good, and I'm like, yeah, okay, because like I couldn't take compliments like at all, because I'm not used to it. Living with your bully all the time kind of makes you think that other people are lying to you or just being nice, and that's for the longest time I really did think people were just being nice to me. But now that I look back at it, because I'm like, oh, those people actually liked me. Like I am a likable person, because I'm kind. I don't harm people. I don't talk shit behind their back and stuff. I don't do that. I have friends and sometimes strangers tell me like some of their darkest secrets, and I'm like, why are you telling me this? Like I never understood that. Like with the person I was buying my car from back then, I was just going in paying my payment, and she would just blah, word vomit on me. Never initiated, never tried. Like she just started talking to me about stuff, and I was like, "Oh, I'm really sorry it's going through that. I don't know what to say." And then I'm not really friends with her now, but she used to be on my old Facebook, but not on my new one. I don't even know if I can look her up to be able to add her or not. She probably would like it, but she was an older woman, so like I kind of like I said, I don't talk to my mom about stuff. So she was kind of she ended up being that woman that I would talk to about my girl problems. Like I went to her at this dealership because that's where it was a buy here, pay here thing, and I would tell her about my girl problems because I couldn't tell that to my mom and stuff. I didn't have anyone to talk to about it. Although I did have my one friend. I had a friend in college when I went to high school, college for automotive. Um, Actually, like that guy had he asked me out both junior and senior year, and I said no. First time I said no because I wouldn't date anyone that smoked cigarettes because he smoked cigarettes. And then the second time he tried to ask me after college or after high school, I told him I was like, "Dude, I'm gay. I can't no." And that was one of the first times that someone asked me like, "Can't you be bi?" And I'm like, I don't think it works that way. I'm gay, because like I had to really think about it. I kind of didn't really talk about that, but that's gonna be my coming out story video. So I'll talk more about that, about how I come to the point of like, yeah, I'm totally gay. Um, but anyways, his mom, kind of was one of another. I always thought of her like the cool ass aunt that I have that my mom doesn't like, and so I can talk shit about my mom all the time to her because she understands, you know. Um, Not that I'm talking shit about her, but I'm just like processing shit that she had done. But anyways, this other lady was kind of like that person that I got to. I would go in and pay my payment, and I think there was even times I would go there just to see her, just to hang out or whatever. And I would sit there and talk to her for a little bit, but then after a while, she was like, "Okay, I have to get back to work." But anyways, I don't even know why I started talking about that. But so in college, getting off subject, whatever. Anyways, coming up to the college I was at now and actually graduated from, I didn't really look into if they had a LGBT community kind of deal. Basically, I just like barely hung out with the horticultural people. But then once I got to the art, that's what I was talking about, the art side. When I got over there, they were like, "Oh, well, you have to major to take the photo class," and so I'm like, "Okay, I guess I'll start doing that." And then for a while there, I was double majoring. I was trying to do horticultural and art, but then I started realizing that was just too much. It would have taken so long to do both of those, especially at the rate I was going at. I mean, I had to take chemistry so many times and I still didn't pass it. I hate chemistry. But it was fundamentals, and so like they try to jam so much into that semester, and I'm like, there's no way we can comprehend what we're just memorizing shit, and I couldn't memorize it. It was horrible. I passed my lab, but could not pass that, and I finally just gave up on it. That was actually one of the reasons why I stopped double majoring, because I had to take that chemistry class and then take another organic, I think, chemistry class, to even continue with my horticultural degree. And since I couldn't do that, I was like, well, you know what? I'm just gonna minor in this, still take my landscaping, woody plants, that kind of stuff classes, but I'm gonna focus on my art. So then I started art foundations, which I think I started art foundations before I decided. Like I said, I double majored for a little bit, and then when I could not pass that damn chemistry class, I was just like, you know what, forget it. I'm just gonna take what little classes I can take without having to take that class, which was quite a few of them. So I basically started minoring in that. Still working. I worked in the landscaping horticultural department the whole time I was at college, because that like first I didn't work there that first fall, but that following spring, my first move after we moved up here. Um, oh wait, no, was that the next year? Because I moved during the summer, so I'd been that following that. That first fall, I was working at PetSmart, and then I started working at the landscaping that spring, and which ended up allowing me to quit PetSmart. Because I was like, I'm not doing two jobs anymore. But anyway, so started art foundations. So I'm like 26 now. Very non-traditional student because I started late and all that crap. So I'm 26, and we're starting art foundations, which is like two. You have one class, and then you get an hour lunch, and then you switch over to another class, and then each day is like a different thing. And I think I want to say Friday was like a, I can't remember how it's laid out now. But anyways, it was 9 to 5 kind of deal. That first year of it, it was basically they said it was basically like getting rid of the people who can't stand that kind of stuff. I don't know. But anyways, but after that, The other classes were nothing like the art foundations. But anyways, I remember being in art foundations and starting, fresh, and everyone else is like 18, 19 because they're getting out of high school, coming to college. And so I'm over here like this 26-year-old, awkward as F. Like, I thought they were going to be mean, to be honest, because like in my generation, my high school, like I had bullies and stuff. And in horticultural, I didn't really have anyone. They either didn't pay attention to me, and I had some people who kind of talked to me for a little bit, but most of them I'm not friends with anymore. Um, I didn't really. I feel like I kind of felt like an outcast on the horticultural side, except for the fact that I worked there and people just knew me from working there, and so I did like. There was some people who like um, worked with my boss, and I got to train them and help them with stuff and interact with them that way. And they all were, most of them were kind to me. But I was like seriously thinking about starting this art foundations, all these 18, 19-year olds, and I thought they were gonna like be so mean to me, or like not. I mean, not saying that they were. There was some who I don't know had an issue with me because I was gay. I don't know if they were kind of homophobic and that's why they had issues with me, or it was because I was so much older. I don't really know what their deal was, but I did have some group project that didn't go very well because they just would not communicate with me, even though they were using my camera that I had. So I basically just like took a flat grade on that. I don't know. And I told my teacher, I was like, I'm not dealing with them. They don't want me in their group. I kind of just got stuck in that group because I did, speak out and try to get into someone else's group, whatever. I was like one of the last people to get picked, I guess. But so I had some stuff, but most of them were really nice, really kind to me, and kind of like hung out. Although I feel like some of them hung out with me at first because they knew I was older and that I could buy them alcohol, but I didn't do that. And as soon as I told them I wouldn't, they kind of stopped inviting me to go over places. So I felt like an outcast in a sense, but mostly it was because I was the same age as most of the grad students that were in art, but they were, grad students and I'm an undergrad, and I had that like, do I really like associate with that? Like, or not, nothing against them, but I just felt like I was in the middle. Like, they were young, I was older than them. They, not saying all of them, because some of them I did kind of become friends with. But they were just like, is that, I mean, it's different age group. Like, and that's why, like, I feel like age does matter. It disgusts me that there's kids shouldn't be getting married and having kids. Period. The end. But anyways, that's a whole nother subject on my other web. I feel like that's on my other channel. But child brides are disgusting. Let's just put it that way. If someone, to me, if someone is whoever is the oldest should not allow the youngest to get in a relationship with you, because you should be the oldest and the mature one and go, no, you're young, you're still figuring yourself out, I'm not getting into that. But no, there's pedophiles out there, so whatever. Anyways, but they don't care about how young you are. As long as you're 18, you're fine. So disgusting. Anyways, a little off subject, but so I was going to college. Um, I don't really know where I was going with all that. Oh, basically just like that move, finding myself, getting into a lot of debt. I don't regret going to college because the experience I got from college was great, and I got to meet so many great people. Like I said, I made quite a few friends. Some are still on my Facebook. I kind of keep up with what they're doing, but it's also kind of just makes you realize that there are times where people are meant to be temporary in your life. Like, yeah, we had that college, and I do kind of miss because I call them my kids. Like, once they found out I was like older than them, they're like, "What the hell?" And then like I try to use some of their lingo, and I used it wrong or spelled it wrong. Something I don't even remember. It was um retweet or some shit like that. I don't know. But anyways, they call me grandma, and then it just started going on with like grandma, they call me Frances back then, not Franny. But I think some of them kind of call me Franny. But I hadn't started going by that name. It was like selective friends who called me Franny. But um, after a while, it just started like spreading, and more people were calling me it. So I was like, oh, that's my name now. But now when I say Francis, it's kind of, it sounds weird now. But anyways, so um, art, like I said, I got thrown into that. So um, I'm a perfectionist. I'm very like, oh, I have to get everything right. And so one of my first classes was chalk, and that's a lot of like erasing and doing. It was a lot, and it broke me on that perfectionist. Actually, this is my final chalk drawing that I, for the longest time, I would not put up on my wall, but I finally put it up there after going through all like my spiritual mental health kind of like journey during the pandemic. So recently I've put this up, but that was my final chalk drawing, and that, it was a it was harsh because of my perfectionist, and like it was basically breaking that and going, hey, it's okay to make mistakes. All you have to do is basically erase them on some. Of course, not that, there's ways. That's like this little, oh, I can't point at it. This is another thing that I did during art. You can't really tell, but there's a, whoa, lightning bolts. I can't. There we go. Lightning bolt right there. um, that actually is David Bowie inspired. I was listening to a David Bowie song because he had passed away during college when I was in college. And we had to listen to a song and paint. And so that was my little painting. Oh crap, what was the song that I listened to? I can't remember at the moment. I'm not gonna try to think about that. But I was listening to David Bowie a lot because I was like, because I've always watched him in Labyrinth, but yeah, I knew some of his songs. But then I started really listening to his music. I bought like a 2 disc like best of his music, whatever, after he passed away, and was like, wow, is this actually really good? I should have been listening to it the whole time. But then I started, whatever. He's definitely one of my favorites now. But anyway, that was one of the things that art taught me. And like I said, I take these classes first to even take the photography class. And I finally got to take photography 101, which was 35 millimeter camera, and I freaking loved it. It was doing projects that wasn't, that was the biggest thing on doing projects that I'm not used to, like having to think with a creative mind. I struggled with it, and so whenever I actually did try to step out and be a little creative with something, I got some negative feedback. Actually, it wasn't even, it was just talking shit. It wasn't like critical criticism or anything. It was, I took a project too literally, I guess, and I should have been, I don't know what I did wrong. I thought it was great. I put a lot of thought into it. Goddamn. But it was just like one of those moments where like I literally went in the back of the room and just cried because I was like. But later on, I realized that that teacher was just a dick, to be honest. So that kind of like, me expressing myself was hard at first, like a lot, because I'm not used to expressing myself. But in art, through all my classes that I took, and now, like, I'm better at it. Cause like, I don't know, you have to do the projects, and so since I had to do them, I had to get a little creative, and then I realized that I am kind of creative, and like, grandma would let us do like creative little things. Like she had a little artsy back room thing with drawers of art shit, and we would like make our own T-shirts. And a lot of times she would let us do little iron-on things and stuff. And so like, it kind of helped me remember like, hey, you used to be into this stuff, you just forgot. So like being in art and in horticulture, that helped me remember these were things that I liked before, and now I can like them again because I stepped away from my mom. Because my mom made me feel like that kind of shit. I mean, she flat out says my degree is pointless because it's an art degree. Which a part of me, well, I don't believe it, because what I believe is that I'm not finding a job because, for one, on my resume, I'm very blunt about me being queer and non binary, and that I'm there, I'm an advocate for indigenous natives all over. I'm an advocate for cannabis, and I put that all in my intro because I don't want to work for someone who's closed minded and an idiot because I won't be able to stick with that job, which has happened because I have had some jobs and I get in there and usually I'm like the only queer person working. They make jokes about it or some shit, and I'm not a joke. And so I don't want to be around those types of people. And so that's why I'm blunt on my resume. And I know that for a fact that I'm getting doors not even opened. They're not shutting in my face. They're not even opening for me because of my resume. But it's me being truthful. And if they can't handle my truth, then I don't want to work for them anyways. But anyways, so in my art though, like I said, expressing myself was hard. But one of the projects we had to do was something about feeling very lonely alone. And a lot of people like, went out in the woods and listened. I mean, they all had their own little ways of doing stuff. I think a lot of them were good. This was another reason why I was like, that teacher's a dick. But anyways, my project was about how my mother made me feel. And so kind of going back on feeling lonely. It was very depressing. I'm all about PowerPoints, and so it was a PowerPoint, and I kind of found imagery to um, express how dark I felt and how alone I felt. And after we all got done with our stuff, the teacher was like, that was lame. Like, what the heck was all that? And I'm like, do you realize I just talked about my childhood abuse about my mother and you're sitting there saying it's lame and it wasn't being alone or some shit? And I'm like, have you ever felt that way? Like, do you even know what feeling alone is? I didn't say that, of course, to him, but I got quiet. And then apparently I was I missed a day, or probably just didn't want to go in and deal with his ass. But he did apologize, and so my friends had to tell me like, oh hey, he apologized for that. He realized that what you say can harm people. Oh wow, verbal abuse is real. Holy shit! Way to go, teacher. Fucking dumb. Some people should not be teachers, and that's another thing. On my education system, whenever I've changed that because of public education, it's gonna be like the parents need to know who their teachers are because you need to make sure that these teachers are not bullying. Because I mean, in high school, coaches and shit, like they bully the ones who are athletic and stuff. And like some of the movies that show that kind of stuff, dude, that show us some reality because in those poverty, like low income fucking schools, that does happen. But anyways, it was just like, ugh, disgusting. I hated it. And then like we had a prom at the end, which I didn't get to go to prom in high school because I would have had to wear a dress, and I was like, fuck that. And this was my chance to go to prom. So we had to like make decorations and shit like that, and most of them planned it. I kind of just went with it on whatever they wanted, but they were talking about like, I mean, they brought up global warming and had huge wells and stuff. And I remember having a cell phone and how everyone's on their cell phone. It was just crazy. Anyways, I ended up being freaking sick and couldn't go. I don't know why. Like, I wasn't like sick. I just did not feel good. I can't remember why. I think I might have gotten a cold or some shit. I don't know. Or not a cold because it was during the summer. I don't know. But I just didn't feel good and ended up missing the damn prom. And I was like, what the hell? It was probably my body reacting to even thinking about going to prom, even though a part of me really wanted to go because I was going to be hanging out with people that I actually liked. And we could wear whatever the hell we want. Well, actually, I think they had a thing where we were all going to be wearing, maybe not. I want to say something about I Heart New York shirts or some shit because I don't know. I can't remember the theme, but it was all over the place to me. Um, but I was really wanting to go, and then I ended up being sick that day, and I couldn't freaking go. And I think it was even on my birthday. And so maybe there was just a lot of emotions going on that I didn't recognize and realize. I don't know. But I was upset the fact that I missed it. So I still have not fucking gone to a prom. I would love to go to a prom that is gender fluid and like you can go by yourself. That's another thing. Like they always make you have to go with a couple, and it has to be a straight couple, of course, because I mean I know there's some schools now who allow whatever, but my high school that was not a thing. You had to wear a dress if you were a girl, and you had to wear a suit or whatever if you were a boy. Like Um, but at this other, prom that I got to help set up, help design shit, and help build stuff, whatever, and I'm not going. But anyways, but the lonely thing, that's what I was gonna do, is like first talk about mom's abuse and the art project. That was one of the first times I've ever expressed that through my art. And even though it was just a PowerPoint, but it was just like an indication of, feeling lonely. That was whenever I really felt lonely. Although now I realize there's other times I've kind of felt lonely because I thought I found some queer friends who I hung out with for quite a while, but then once the pandemic happened, and I know the pandemic was whatever crazy, but people make time for the people they want to make time for. And whenever you're sitting there and you have all these mutual friends and they're all hanging out constantly taking photos and shit, but they never invite you to hang out, or whenever you're hanging out with them, they never, want to take a photo with you and shit. I mean, not saying everyone. There was a couple that would take photos with me, but like not a whole lot. And even those people stopped talking to me. So I'm just like, whatever. Um, Honestly, I also think a lot of people stopped talking to me because I didn't get vaccinated, and I still have not got vaccinated. And all I've ever heard of people getting COVID again, and like I said, I haven't worked, but when I did work, I would wear a mask still, even though other people weren't anymore. Um, the last job I had in October, I didn't wear a mask then, but I also wasn't working in the public. I was in the back in my own little station doing tire work. I was changing tires out and stuff. Um, but other than that, like out in public, I would wear a mask. I finally stopped wearing them now, but not gotten COVID at all. Knock on wood. Um, but my dad has, and we lived together, and I still didn't get it. Um, he's had breakouts at his VA place, and they used to like test him weekly or whatever, and make sure that no one's getting it. But then as soon as they stopped testing him, an outbreak would go. Or, oh, actually, what it was is that they all got their vaccination, got boosters and shit, and they're like, oh, we don't have to wear a mask anymore. We don't have to protect ourselves anymore. And then an outbreak of COVID would happen, or Omicron, or whatever the hell they called it. Um, Sorry, but vaccines are a temporary, not even a cure. It's not. It's a fake thing that they just want you to get back to work. That's all that was. And talking about horticultural side, so I was, in college. May 2020 was when I graduated. So March was when it all broke out, and we're like, oh, we're doing online shit now and whatever. Which a lot of my classes were hands on, so like that kind of sucked because I missed out on my landscaping job or class and stuff. But anyways, one of the things that my horticultural teacher said was that with plants, we don't give them a virus so they become stronger and they can fight uh, the virus if they got it, or disease, or whatever, what plants can get. What he said was, we prevent them by giving them a healthy environment so that way they can even have a chance of getting a disease or virus. It was preventative, and that stuck with me because in reality, we don't have a healthy environment. There's homeless people, and it's not their fault. It's the government's fault. The government does not care about the people. They only care about the rich. And that's another reason why I'm going for president, because I want to actually make the government actually work for the people for once, because that's what it was supposedly meant to do. But in reality, it didn't happen. It was the government was created for the rich anyways. Like, I wholeheartedly believe that. And cops are just slave hunters. They just changed their name and gave them a badge and act like, oh, now you have to listen to them. They can put you in jail because you've got a bag of weed on you or some shit like that. It was seriously meant for the rich. And I want to use all of those things that they created for the rich against them finally, and make it to where they actually go to jail and not people who are actually innocent and stuff. Um, yeah, like, so, I don't know if I'm really talking about, but I remember my cousin telling me when I was really little, like 3 or 4, I wanted to be a boy cop. And later on in life, I still want to be a cop, but it was only so that I could become a detective because I wanted to solve crimes and help people out and shit. Because that's what I thought they were for. And not saying they don't help out some people, but then there's some people they just choose not to help. And I know this for a fact because I've been watching Unsolved Mysteries. I've been learning about the damn government through the Unsolved Mysteries because when it is a person of color, the cops don't care, and they talk about that, and I'm like, it's so bullshit, and it's still happening because cops are still killing people of color. But anyways, I want to be a boy cop, and it's funny to me because like people talk about transgender. Like when I was young, I probably would have went through some weird phase of like thinking I was transgender because I did want to be a boy cop. But I also feel like the only reason why I want to be a boy cop because I thought you had to be a boy in order to be with a girl. But then later on, which I'll get into this more later, I realized that, oh, hey, there's people who are gay. Girls can be with girls, like, what the fuck? And so it kind of changed. I don't want to be a boy. I don't want to be a boy even now. There are some times where I kind of want some of my boobs to be gone because I do remember whenever they were developing and shit, I hated it. I did not want them there at all. um, Going through my spiritual journey and stuff made me realize how much of body dysphoria I went through. But I also feel like it's all about society and how society makes us view things. And so unlearning that, decolonizing that, whitewash, whatever you want to call it, um, has made me feel better about myself and my own body. Because this body has gotten me through a lot of shit. So I can't like shouldn't be hating on it. Um, but anyways, uh, but my horticulture teacher saying that about preventing plants from even getting disease is by giving them a healthy environment. So as president, I want to give everyone a healthy environment, which means everyone gets housing, and it's going to be clean housing. It's going to be the house is going to fit the family, not just make a family. I mean, there's been a lot of times where there's like 20 people living in one place because they can't afford anywhere else or some shit like that. And that's not okay. And that's why I'm saying the government has failed us. They've been failing us ever since they started. Um, because I also believe that there shouldn't be poverty. The only reason why there is poverty is because there's rich fucks. If there wasn't rich fucks and we were all just wealthy and we were all just doing what we actually wanted, we wouldn't have to worry about poverty at all. We wouldn't have to worry about someone being homeless because we would be helping them get an apartment at least. Um, Shit, even a hotel room for a while until they wanted. Could I want apartments to be like a temporary thing because like some people might not know where they want to live right off the bat. So if you get a house, not saying you can't move out of that house and move it somewhere else, and then that house becomes available for someone else. That's totally fine. Like I feel like real estate can totally still be used, but it's not gonna be about charging people. It's just gonna be about finding the house that fits for you. And the homeless people, I want to start with them first and getting them in at least apartments because there's apartments that are sometimes free all the time, or during whatever. But hotel rooms are not always full, so there should be a place for them to stay. Until they figure out where they want to live, if they want to stay here or go somewhere else. Da, da, da. That's why I feel like apartments should be like that temporary thing. Like I'm still kind of traveling, figuring things out, so I'm just gonna stay in an apartment. But that apartment is yours, you know. Um, and there's not gonna be landlords anymore. It's just gonna be maintenance people who come through and like if you need something fixed in your house, you just get it fixed. There's no like, oh, let's see how much that's gonna cost. Those stresses are so unnecessary. Um, and it all roots back to fucking money, and that's why I feel like money is the root of all evil. It's fake. That's why I feel like my college degree, whenever it came in the mail, like I said, I graduated during the freaking pandemic, so like all I could think about was like, wow, you're over $60,000 worth of piece of paper. That's all I could think about it. Um, like I said, I love the experience I got from college. I think everyone should go to college, but I think it needs to be not about money, making money, because that's all it's been about. Is they overcharge for those classes, and so education should be free. Period. The end, and that's how I will be as president. I will make it free, and I will cancel all that fucking debt. Um, And me being in college and getting that debt and realizing like how fucked up it is why I'm gonna be like that. They haven't done that yet. They're never going to. Um, I'm gonna talk about my mom's abuse. There was a time where I was gonna show this, but I guess I won't. Maybe I'll show it on something. Like I said, I have these paintings or whatever, and my cousin uh, ended his life during one of my semesters as in foundations, art foundations. And so we were doing that board thing, and whenever I found out about him, I had I had no energy to work on that board. So the one before me, we had switchboards and someone else had to paint on my board or whatever. So it was already pretty dark looking and stuff. And so I just like flipped it up where it was lengthwise, tall wise, and then whatever. And I just took the wet paint and let it drizzle down. And just made it more gloomy and dark, and because that's how I was feeling at the time. Um, and I had to tell my teacher, I was like, just so you know, I'm not just all of a sudden not caring, but I had a death in the family. But anyway, so she was like very cool with it. I was like, sorry, whatever. This is how I'm gonna end this video. But anyways, it was weird to have a painting still. I ended up painting on it again later on, but I feel like I kept most of what it looked like. But then what I did was, because it's very black and white, we couldn't paint with anything else. So I ended up making it gray and just putting circles, a little line. It was like line, 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 but it made a circle here and then there. That's why I wish I had. I was gonna set it up to where I can view it, but um, I'll post it maybe somehow. I don't know, but it's on my Facebook. But you have to be my friend to see that. But anyways, um, and that was what my floral design teacher ended up getting, was because like it was kind of me saying life's not black and white. There's gray area. um, but I was very like monotone. Couldn't talk much about stuff. Uh, but I was just to the point. But that was another thing that art did, was you really can use it to express your shit. um, which I want to get back into my photography and stuff. But I think I'm gonna end it on that. I was just gonna talk about my cousin, him, because I had kind of stopped hanging out with him already before, so we weren't really close whenever it happened. So there's a lot of mixed feelings going on. Plus, he used to live with my dad, and whenever I moved in, I kind of like, honestly, I said, hey, you've got a month, but you need to find somewhere else to live, because basically I didn't want to have to deal with his BS. And then later on, like, I think I kind of knew even then, I seen it, but he was very abusive towards my dad. And because I had guilt about kicking him out, I was like, well, maybe I should just let him live with us, blah, blah, blah. But I know if I let him live with us, we would have had a horrible, huge falling out, because, I mean, he was into not cannabis. I mean, he did smoke sometimes, but he was into other hard drugs, which I didn't really find out until after he had ended his life. So it was a lot of mixed feelings for a while, and I felt guilty and shit like that. But then I realized at the age of 24, I was already taking on my dad, dealing with his finances, taking on him too, who never helped my dad out. He lived with him, but he never helped him out. He never helped him out with bills. Even when he did have a job, he spent it all on drugs and alcohol. He did not give any of my dad some money. And so if I was going to live with my dad, I didn't want that going on, because I would not have tolerated it. And because I was living in the house, I would have been able to like get in his face and said, no, you're not doing this shit. You need to get out. So I feel like I gave him a month, and I was hoping that in that month he might have like found a job and started working and maybe started paying in, whatever. But the whole month he just was, of course, drinking. I don't think we got in like any fights or anything, but he was definitely drinking the whole time. And then later on, I found out during that month he had stole money from our papa to get that alcohol, and I was like, what the fuck? Like I just did not. Like I said, I feel like people. I mean, I know he had his own trauma. I know he had his own abuse growing up. Um, but he chose to be an abuser. He could have easily lived with my dad and helped him out the whole time and was like, hey, cool, my uncle's being, because my dad, his uncle, was literally the only person that did not judge him for all that shit, did not talk negative to him, allowed him to live. Like every time he would go live with his mom for a little bit, she'd kick him out. He'd go live with the youngest sister, our aunt. She would go and kick him out, um, because they got tired of him not wanting to do stuff. Or like keep a job and like whatever. But the thing is like even whenever he was working, like I said, he should have been helping my dad out, which he didn't. But they would still talk negative to him. He even went to college with me for a while at the college from where we used to live. Um, and that whole damn time, oh my god, he would come and hang out with me and uh, try to study together. But he was more fixated on like, so is that friend of yours single? And I'm just like, that's all. Like he would make some of my girlfriends, who were straight or whatever and single, uncomfortable. And I think knowing all that, that was why I was just like, dude, I'm sorry, but you've got to like. He did not want to change. I remember him being at my dad's apartment before me and him even moved in. I was there visiting, and his dad was there, and his dad was trying to put him in rehab, which I did not, like I said, I did not know about what kind of drugs he was. I literally thought he was just smoking pot and drinking alcohol. And that's why for the longest time I did not like pot because of how he acted. But then when I realized that, oh wow, he was actually on way more shit. He was apparently shooting up stuff. He did cocaine once in my dad's apartment and tried to get my dad to do it. And I'm just like, what the? I mean, I didn't know that at the time, but maybe I felt the energy of it. But then I also just know that how he acted around me and how he acted around my friends. If my friends would have come over and then had to, I just didn't want to deal with that. And and maybe that's just me giving out excuses on why I didn't, kicked him out, or whatever. I'm trying to feel guilty about it. But in reality, I'm proud of myself because honestly, I could have let him stay, and then we would have been constantly at each other's throats. And because if I had found out about the other stuff, he was popping pills too. Because apparently he hurt his back, and that's when it went downhill. He hurt his back. He got on some of those popping pills. That's why I cannot stand pharmaceutical bullshit. Them popping pills is way worse than me smoking my pot. Um, I wish he had just been smoking pot and not even done it because when he would drink, he wasn't angry. I mean, we have Irish blood, so when he would drink, he would he had got the redness and all that because he was one of the only people in our family that actually have the red hair, besides our mama, and I just didn't want to be around someone who gets drunk on purpose to get angry. Oh, and then he would like my dad's. He's been to mental hospital and stuff. He's on a lot of drugs for his so-called mental illnesses. I don't believe he has those mental illness. I think they just wanted to put the blame on him and not realize that my mother was a horrible bitch and his family is a horrible people. He was the one getting targeted. I mean, they talk negative to him all the time. Like I said, whenever we moved up here, they were going like, she's gonna leave you, da, da. You're gonna end up alone up there, and I have not left. We've been living together the whole fucking time. Like, I'd rather live with my dad than find other roommates because finding roommates is just horrible. But and but anyways, he was abusive towards my dad, and so I'm kind of glad that I did that because he should not have been allowed to do that, to treat my dad like that. Oh, but my dad's on those medicine, and he would get him drunk. Like my dad kind of drinks now a little bit, but it's just like beer here, whatever. It's nothing crazy. But he would get the hard look, and my cousin wouldn't have money, so it was my dad buying this alcohol and then him forcing him to drink with him because he didn't want to drink alone. And so that's abuse. That's not okay to do to someone who's letting you live underneath their fucking roof for free. and like he would barely clean the apartment. He would always leave it dirty. He was caught. I mean, my cousin was like 6'4" and shit, and like so he was a big guy. He ate a lot, and so my dad was barely keeping food in the house because he would eat so much, you know. So like him having a job and helping with the groceries at least should have been what he was doing, but he didn't even do that. Um, but it just sucked because like I didn't realize how lonely he was. I guess. But I mean, he was working with his brother for a little bit, and he did try to stay the night at our house while we were living in this house that we're in now. This house is a mortgage. We're not renting anymore, thank goodness. It's much cheaper. But I had to get my dad's credit score up to do that. But anyways, so I said he can stay in a couple of nights, but he's not gonna try to move in. And then he ended up never staying the night. I don't know. I guess me saying that he just was like, forget it. Um, but like I said, I hadn't wasn't talking to him that much before all that. But after he passed away was whenever I found out all about the drugs, because then my dad started talking more about what he was doing and stuff, and he kind of vaguely talked about before too, but I didn't know the extent of it, and it was pretty bad. So it kind of made me feel a little bit more okay with the fact that because I still have guilt, like a part of me wishes that I could have, helped him too. But in reality, I was not mentally stable enough to take care of my father and take care of an addict. Um, because he had horrible addiction to multiple things, not just one, but to multiple things. Um, and I also now know this is another reason why I don't hang out with my family anymore because, like I said, even whenever he was trying to do better for himself, they would still talk down on him. At least I didn't do that shit. I'm like, cool, you're in college, but he only went one semester and then dropped out, which is probably because of how our family talks to him. Because every holiday, I'm so glad I don't go see them on holidays because every holiday we would go talk and we would like we should have been able to sit at the adult table, but we would still go sit at the kids table because we would rather sit at the kids table than sit with the adults. Okay, we did not care about being able to sit at the adult table, um, because all we would hear them doing is complaining about what we're not doing and what we're doing and all this bullshit. They bitched the whole freaking time. And I remember thinking just like, why don't I even go see them for the holidays when and they were really bad on him more than anything. But they also didn't they think that my gayness is a phase and that I'll eventually not be gay anymore. It's a very long phase so far. But anyways, I'm glad I don't talk to them about that. Well, I'm glad I don't talk to them about anything really. They still talk shit behind my back. They tell my dad when he goes and visits them because he set up some boundaries finally for them, but he does still go see them. Mostly because he goes and sees them when my sister goes and sees them because they're wanting to meet, or wanting to hang out with my nephew, and the whole damn time he's down there, all they're saying is, "You should kick her out. She's just using you," and all this shit. Of course, they're saying she because they don't care about my pronouns. I wouldn't even care about telling them about my them they pronouns, but they tell him constantly that he needs to kick me out, even though I'm literally the one who helped him get yeah, I haven't been working here recently, but the whole time, the majority of the time, I've been helping. I used college refund money to get us into this house. Um, well, maybe not because that was during the May, but April. I might have saved some. Anyways, maybe we probably used the credit card. But anyways, I take college refund money and pay off credit card, paid off Lowe's like multiple times trying to get it knocked down. But that got his credit score up. And getting his credit score up was able to get him into a house. Um, but anyways, so that was my story about college and how I mean, it was difficult. I think there was a couple of times I had to appeal my financial aid because of all the stress that I was going on. And people shouldn't have to go through that. Like, that's the thing. I'm one of those people who have gone through some shit, but I don't want other people having to go through that. And I feel like the best way to, stop that, to prevent that, is by becoming president, hiring the people and the politicians that are actually going to make a change, and just full force make that change. And like, oh, I was gonna mention Law and Order SVU. I used to love watching that because I was talking about being a detective. She was the Benson is the reason why I wanted to be a detective because she would help people so much. And here recently, I realized that that show is fictional, but it's because the bad guy actually gets put in jail. Like, there's been so many episodes. I haven't got to finish all of it because I was binge watching it for a while. But a lot of the times, I mean, they've even had episodes about how, well, he paid, his way to get out of this or whatever, because that does happen. And so, if anything, it's a drama because it doesn't actually happen that way, which just sucks. Our reality should be more like the movie, or not all movies, but like more like, those types of shows that show the bad guy actually getting put in jail, not being set free because he has enough money to pay it. But anyways, I think I'm gonna end it on that. Because it's now an hour long. I was really gonna make these short videos, but whatever. It's me talking about life. But my next video, I'm gonna talk about I'm gonna talk more about the pandemic and my spiritual journey on that. My shadow work that I didn't know it was called shadow work, but that's literally what I was doing. And why, you know, I don't have a job still. I feel like I'm meant to just be resting right now because what's ahead is gonna be a lot. But I also would like to make some money because I do need money still. But getting this off my chest is kind of nice. I almost got a little teary eyed because I do talking about my cousin. It bothers me because like I almost did that, but he actually did it. Although there is this part of me that feels like he came across foul play, and the reason being is uh he ended his life by going into our papa's shed, which is not a very tall shed. But apparently he like used some rope and hung himself. And I never went into that shed, so I don't really know how tall it is. But I just personally, I mean, I asked Dad because he's 6'2", so he's 2 inches shorter than my cousin. And I'm like, did you ever have to duck your head in there? Like, were you, have to because he had to. They they put him in there to clean out because my papa moved out of that trailer in that in the shed. Had to move all that stuff out. No one wanted to go in there, so they sent my father, who's supposedly the mentally ill one, in there to take all the stuff out because they didn't want to go in there. And I guess I could kind of see it because they were the ones who found him, so they actually had to see it. We were up here, so we didn't see it, but it was still just them, putting something like that on him. And they should have just did it together. Like, what the hell? The body's not in there now. But there's just part of me that it was staged. Because I just also kind of like, and maybe it's just me not thinking that he would want to. I feel like he's too stubborn to do something like that. But they didn't really. It was just shut, closed case right off the bat. They didn't even try to look at it as foul play. I mean, technically at the time he was. They knew he was a drug addict. They knew he was basically homeless. The reason why he would go into that shed was because he had a little makeshift bed in there apparently and was sleeping in there. Because it was a trailer park that only old people can live in. So he couldn't be living with my papa because there for a while he was living, and I guess they noticed that he was staying there a little too long and basically kicked him out, which was stupid because I don't see why it would matter. I mean, it's just a freaking trailer park. Um, but I don't know. Part of me just doesn't. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. But if he didn't, I would like to know who the fuck did that because, like I said, he has a temper, and he did get in a few fights. I mean, he has front tooth missing for the longest time because he got in a fight with an actual fighter. But because he was drunk off his ass at a bar, he thought he could take him because he's a big guy, he's 6'4". He's a big guy, but he does not know how to fight. And this guy, I'm pretty sure drop kicked him. Like, I don't know, but his tooth fell out. And he had just, I mean, I think he had it fixed for a while, but he did have to have a missing tooth for a while, so he didn't really like smiling for a while there because he couldn't. And our mama was the one who went and got his tooth fixed for him. Um, but like I said, he has a temper. He's pissed people off. He did lose a friend to an overdose, and then we lost our mama to cancer. And so they kind of think that he losing Mamaw. I mean, he was the favorite of Mamaw's, but now I hear them say that, but now I don't think he was like necessarily the favorite. I think Mamaw could just see that he was the one who got dumped on most of the damn time, so she tried to like be nice to him, be kind to him. She didn't talk shit about him like they did, and so he was the favorite. Um, but now I just view it differently now. Back then, I was like, maybe he was the favorite because they claimed he was the favorite because he was the only one with the actual red hair. No one else really has the red hair, and she liked the fact that he actually had the red hair. And plus, he was the baby of 4 children. So a lot of times the baby is, whatever the favorite. Um, but I think it was also just like she didn't talk shit about him like they did, and they expected her to, and because she didn't, and just bought him things that he didn't really, they thought he didn't really need, she would do that. Because I remember, I mean, he would still get Christmas gifts. Wait, I never got Christmas. Did I get Christmas gifts too? I feel like there was some years that I didn't get a Christmas gift, but it was from Mamaw though. I mean, she would sign for Powerball, but we all knew it was just Mamaw, especially cards and stuff. I remember getting cards. Maybe we just got cards with money, because she didn't know how to buy for us a lot of times. But anyways, that's something else. But I just remember him definitely getting. He always would get clothes. I mean, but that was because Mamaw knew he needed clothes. But of course, he could have used what money he did have to buy himself clothes. But whatever. Um, anyways, I just know that he has a temper and he could piss some people off. And I mean, he definitely was in the drug shit. So some drug dealer, I don't know, he couldn't pay his money or some shit. I don't know. But it had to have been someone close because they would have to have known about the shed. They would have to have known that he stays in that shed for a while, which I know for a fact there was some people who were close and some even showed up to the funeral. And I don't know. I just think there's some gray area in there that maybe someday I'll be able to investigate, maybe not. Um, I just think that it was just shut, closed case because he was an addict and homeless basically, and of course it was suicide. I don't understand how a 6'4" person could do that in a shed. It wasn't like a barn with a huge whatever. It was. I mean, I remember seeing on the outside. I never went on the inside, but it didn't have a high roof or anything. But anyways, college was a lot. A lot went on. And I've been on survival mode for a long time, and I think that's another reason why like jobs haven't. I mean, I know jobs haven't happened because of queer stuff. I really think that's part of it, but also not working for like if someone reads my intro and gets offended by it, I don't want to work for them because clearly they've got some guilt on being racist, sexist, or homophobist, whatever. Um, and I don't want to work for them anyways. But I also feel like it's part of my resting and healing from what I've been going through. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna finally really truly end this video because it's an hour and 8 minutes now. But that's my college type. And like I said, the next video is gonna be about the end of the college, the pandemic, and my spiritual awakening, basically, and why my book is written. But yeah, peace within. I'll see you next time.